Hello, and welcome to the second episode of Born to Create, an art podcast where each week I bring on a different creative from my course to chat about art. I hope our conversations will illustrate the current climate that we are living in and how the pandemic has impacted each artist's practice. I aim to show the value of art and creativity for humanity and dive into the stories of the artists that are soon to leave the fine art studios after 3 years at the University of Salford. Each episode surrounds the special guest. Today I've got Maria Christou with me to share her story.
Hello, so excited to be here.
Maria is a multidisciplinary artist with a primary passion for painting and performance, both documented through video and in front of a live audience. She's recently discovered a love for film photography, as well as a new appreciation for monoprinting. We've been close since first year, where we partnered up to do a lot of body painting collaborative work, while we explored the female identity and our sexualized bodies. We slowly both understood our personal experiences of trauma over the years, and took very different approaches to reach a common goal of exploring our unconscious through our art. We live together now, and I have 2 of her early paintings hanging in my room. One of the paintings I have, Maria painted inspired by Annie Sprinkle's performance piece, Public Cervix Announcement, in which Sprinkles used a speculum to open up her vaginal canal and allow the public to come up to her one by one with a torch to see what a real cervix looked like. Sprinkles was famous for demystifying her sexual organs on stage, and I was drawn to this painting of Maria's the second I saw it, at first purely for the black and white tones in which it was painted, but I love it even more now that I know the power of the woman depicted. I've noticed it's rare to see Maria make a painting in grayscale, so I reserved that piece as soon as I saw it because I loved the way in which the paint was applied to the canvas, and it holds pride of place above my mirror. I can't wait to learn more about her journey and the choices that will have influenced the work she has made in her life. So without further ado, Maria, welcome. Where are you from, and how does that affect your work?
I'm from Cyprus. I moved here 3 years ago, roughly, when I started uni. It affects my work in lots of different ways. I think part of where I'm from made me find my boundaries, made me want to explore my boundaries more, and found my own way to the limits in art, and my own limits in art. And being from Cyprus made me want to explore that more. Things and the culture in Cyprus made me want to move away and see what's more, what is in the world, what's more than that. I want to explore the unexpected, the even vulgar and expressive. The more expression, the better. That's how my mindset was. Yeah. That's how I was feeling. And
it's like you finally had the chance to have a voice and you were going to use it to be as loud and expressive
as
possible.
Yes, yeah. I moved away and I was like, a new start. I'm gonna find my way in art, find what I am. Because I had a very strong opinion about me, always have. And instead of trying to find myself in art, I chose in the end to choose who I am in art, not finding, because it's not about finding yourself. Who are you to find yourself? It's explore yourself and identify yourself, define yourself, more like in simple words. And moving here made me want to do that, made me want to start from the beginning again without thinking. And it was a very nice journey. Interesting, I have to say.
So yeah, I mean, that leads me on to my next question. What was your journey like into art school? Like, why do you make art?
I was always interested in art, like from a very young age. I remember myself trying to do things in art, even with pencils, with colours, with no colours, I was always intrigued by art. And then I saw my grandma from my mother's side exploring things in art with watercolor on fabrics and very, very alternative ways of using art, very soft, very delicate. And I learned how to do that. I learned how to have these delicate marks, but I was feeling nice that I was sharing it with her, but at the same time I wanted to have texture. I wanted to like scream. I wanted power. Looking at my other grandma was doing, I don't actually know the word in English.
Let's play this game.
Yeah.
Describe it.
Okay. When you have little pieces and you put them together to make an art piece, not a puzzle.
Mosaic. Like little pieces of coloured stone that
Yeah.
you then put cement between. Mosaic,
Yeah. My grandma, from my dad's side, used to make loads of these. We have a table at home that she made.
I used to love mosaic. Yeah, it's a great medium.
My aunt made glass art. When I was younger, I had lots of friends. I grew up in a neighborhood, so we had an environment of creativity. We were making jewelries, we were selling it to like family members.
Nice.
And like,
nice.
The business mind of like having creative things. It was like necklaces, bracelets, lots of like small things that we were making by our hands. And it was doing art wasn't an alien thing to me. It was like a thing that it existed in my life. And then I left it for a bit because teenage years, because
School.
because school. I had music, I had dancing, I had lots of different things that I was doing. I had hobbies, lots of hobbies. When I changed school, I had to choose IGCSEs and I chose art and design. That was my way back in art, of actually falling in love with it all over again. I remember my art teacher trusting me, showing me how interesting my art was, and the way that he responded to me by the way I was doing things made me want to do more, made me want to explore more. And he saw something in me that I wasn't seeing in myself. So I was like, the way that he's seeing me, I want to see myself. So I want to fight for it. I want to explore more. But I was stubborn. So it's like, I didn't actually listen to anyone. I was...
You? Stubborn?
I was so annoying. And whatever I learn is from going my own way, not working, and then deciding, oh, maybe let's try that thing that someone suggested or my teacher suggested.
I know that my way doesn't work now, so maybe I'll try other people's ideas. But it's a fair thing. It means that you were so driven by the need to make these things that you like. It didn't matter whether your way would work or not. You needed to find out.
Yeah.
And then once you had found out, you were then able to maybe take in other ideas or possibilities to get to where you wanted to go.
Yeah. But
yeah.
lots of times I was wrong. But I had to try my own way because I needed to know if my own way works or not.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't do it, how will I know?
Exactly. It's a great way to make. I really admire it.
I went into a lot of fights with people I love though because of it.
Well, there is always two sides to the coin, but it will really help you be driven, and it will have helped you make a lot more of the work. And instead of staying in your own head, you have a body of work that's been you experimenting and processing a lot of the things you've gone through in life. Definitely. Yeah, what inspired you growing up? So, like, where do you find your inspiration?
I had lots of, images with me growing up. And I think the start of me having imagination, it was when my mom used to read me, like, every night. We had, like, our own time, our own corner in her bed or my bed. And we were reading. And that... her like acting and being in a character, changing her voice made me create these images in my brain of like the story going on, and it was so interesting, so intriguing to me when I was young. I wish we never stopped. Like I wish we didn't stop. we were going on for like I was quite old when we stopped, but I wish we didn't, because that was, I think, the first form of inspiration that I had. Like my mom reading to me a book, or me with her reading a book, because I wanted to be able to read as well when I was really young. It was really interesting, and I do miss those moments. They're really important to me.
Happy memories that you'll cherish forever, I guess.
Yeah. Other inspirations, it was, I think, like I said, I was around people that were creative. My mom was also she was writing always. I always remember her writing or reading books. So I learned to read books as well. That also set like an art scene for me, of having to understand what I like or what do I don't like, what do I find fascinating or not. And I remember sometime, I think 14, 13, I wanted to be a criminologist or something like that. But
pretty
crimes,
cool.
yeah, crimes was a big inspiration. I found the mind so fascinating about what a human being can do, how destroyed you can be. And I could relate to the killers a lot without like being a killer, but I was seeing myself. I could relate to every single story I was reading. That played a lot of why I wanted to be a criminologist. Then when I found out back in school, when I got the IGCSE, from the first year I was like, that's it, that's what I want to do. Like, it's just, I never felt so much excitement. Like, that was the thing that took me out of my depression, out of my misery, out of everything that I was feeling. It was me doing art. And I was like, I just can't do anything else. I have to do that. Like, I own it to myself to do art. And the first person I remember that was excited about that, like all my family was supportive of my choice. But the first reaction that I got, very positive reaction, it was my grandma. That she was doing the watercolor on fabric. She was really excited to see me develop as an artist. And she died before she saw me. But she was really proud of me, of pursuing my dream and going to the unknown. She was seeing the changes in me, and she was always commenting on like my hair or like things that I was changing. It was good to see her looking at me with
pride.
Yeah, almost
maybe,
admiring.
Yeah, maybe she was living vicariously through you. Like,
which is it was so good to see. Because my grandma was also sewing, was also making clothes, and now I'm wearing those clothes. I'm wearing the clothes that she sold to my mom, and I feel so emotional every time I do it, because it's like I have her with me. I have the things that she made. Oh, I'm getting emotional.
It's okay.
So yeah, I had lots of inspirations growing up, and I don't think I saw it at the time. I thought that the only inspiration that I had was my brain, was the way I was feeling, which was not true at all. Because yes, I was going through a terrible time, but lots of people around me helped me, and I didn't see that at the time. I had lots of people supporting me, and the fact that my parents didn't question at all, and they just helped me just go away and live my dream, is just unbelievable. I don't think at the time I really processed it. It was like me moving away, and after like a year or so, really processing it, that I'm away. I'm really not in Cyprus. Yeah, Manchester became my home. It's always gonna have like a sort of spot in my heart, because it's the start of me.
That was really nice. That was really interesting. Are you happy to move on to the next question?
Yeah.
How has your style changed over time? What was or is now maybe your preferred medium? I know that you like to have your hand in lots of you like to have, what is it? Your thumb in multiple pies, or finger in multiple pies, but I know that...
Like an octopus.
So how's your style developed?
I started as a painter, I think I'm always gonna be a painter, but I started out strictly painting. So I was experimenting with layers, with how I make a traditional way of painting my way, and I was doing that from a very start.
How old were you when you started properly painting?
Probably painting, I think it was when I pursued IGCSE, so I was 15. I wasn't...
Were you making art before that? What kind of... Would you ever make anything creative?
Yeah, I was... I like scribbling. I liked drawings that had messy parts. I found fascinating art in general, but I think I was so busy with my thoughts and the hobbies that I had at the time, so I didn't really find time for it.
Yeah, fair.
But I remember being interested in films as well, because I was always like a lover of films, and seeing the cinematography in films made me really inspired, and I think that was also an inspiration of mine, seeing films. And I can see me now why I'm doing performances, like seeing the audience and not the audience kind of perspective. So I started with a pencil or like a graffiti, and then I did charcoal.
When you say graffiti, do you mean graphite, or were you actually doing graffiti on walls?
Oh, graphite.
Just wanted to double check.
Yes, graphite.
Graffiti would have been awesome too, though.
I didn't actually try. I might.
Oh, it's such a great
I
medium.
might.
So you started with pencil drawings?
Yes, lots of charcoal and pencil drawings. I started with lots of detail in it. I had some of realism in it, depth, and also messy parts on the same page, which at the time I couldn't connect as much. I was happy with what I was doing. I was spending lots of time not thinking about making things. It was like, what should I do? And I also spent lots of time doing portraits as well. I have a friend that she was my model, and I took pictures of her and I draw her. So I focus on her characteristics. How do I make a portrait look like her without accurate characteristics? So is the feeling of her, is the vibe of her. Seeing that now, I think it's more accurate than I wanted it to be.
I mean, we developed.
Yeah, we developed.
What was this, like A-levels?
It was... I had this project with her during IGCSE and after. So I had lots of... I painted her face as well. So I started that before I came to uni, painting on faces. Yeah, but that was really interesting because it wasn't the whole face. It was like starting to melt. Parts of it was colorful, parts of it... So it was like a changing skin, like a snake kind of thing, which was really interesting. I started the style that I have now way before uni, but I didn't have the freedom to express it more. But my teacher was pushing me with ideas and concepts and techniques. He knew me really well, really, really well. So he knew how my style could develop and seeing it develop. And that feeling of having someone knowing you that much, it was like I felt protected. I felt like
safe.
He could form me in a way, or like help me form, like a safe space that I could form myself or react the way I wanted, express myself. We became really good friends through the lessons, through me trying to express myself through art. And he introduced me to Marina Abramovic. And then my whole perspective in art changed. I was like, what is art? What is it then? Like, what could I make? And Marina Abramovic became my main inspiration after that. Like, I became a little bit obsessed.
I mean, she is pretty cool. It's a very understandable obsession. She's done some incredible things. So
in art performance, she helped a lot to form my ideas. In painting, I think I was always doing back and forth kind of. I wasn't. It's not consistent. It's not like going up or going down. It was like kind of.
That is one thing about Maria. There are some magnificent sound effects that come with her existence.
You know what I mean, though.
I know exactly what you mean, but I can't make that noise.
Yeah, so I became to understand my style because with me. It wasn't that I had just a style, it's that my hand was moving me. My hand was controlling me. So most of the time I was fighting with the paint. I was fighting against the paper. My hand was driving me. I wasn't driving my hand.
Yeah.
With the time, like through uni years, I developed sort of kind of control over it to have some rules, to form some rules for my style and to explore more things that I didn't think it was my style, because having a style can make you great and stuck, like not being able to move forward. And I think without my teacher as well, I felt like I have to have my own way of driving my hand, driving my style, because I think he knew more than me how to make my style work. I tried to reflect back to what I was doing, how he was advised me to do things back to what I was doing in first year, and I always thought, what would he think about that? What would he think about my painting, about this style, and with a lot of things that I was doing, I wasn't completely happy with it, but the process was worth it. The process of making it made me happy.
The process was your main goal.
Yeah.
And whatever you were left with, it existed, but you cared about the process.
Yeah.
If you had to pick a preferred medium now, if you had to pick one, I'm going to make you try.
I don't think I can choose. I like everything in different ways. I can't say that depends on how I feel. I pick another medium. That's why I always do things at the same time. I have like a million things going on and a million things at the same time. Like if you see my studio, it's all over the place. There's sketches, there's paintings, unfinished paintings. There's paintings that had gesso or background on, but never been finished or never started. Sketches in lots of different notebooks. Ideas that I cannot translate. I have random poems that I wanted to create something from it and I don't remember what I meant. It's just a chaos, really. I like making things. That was always the main thing, that I was gonna make it. And it didn't matter why, it didn't matter how, but I was gonna make it.
Yeah, maybe it's like how your emotional state has changed over the years, has changed how you approach this process. And so it's maybe not necessarily about a style or a medium. For you, it's like, I'm in this emotional state, so I'm going to make this thing today.
Yes.
And I want to work through this thing today, and I'm going to use this to do that. But it's not necessarily going, I want to do a painting right now, I want to do a print right now. It's, I'm feeling this and I need to express it. Would you say that's something?
Yeah, because every time I start with something, it's not fully formed. So it's always changing, or like I'm gonna start with a painting and then being like, oh my god, I got an idea that I need to photograph, that I need to do in film photography or film, or it's just all over the place. That's why I feel like I have no time to reflect on anything, or like most of the things that I do, because my brain keeps on going so fast that I try to keep up with it, and in reality I cannot. I cannot keep up with it, but I really try, and I think I'm exhausted all the time because of that reason. I'm really excited about what I'm doing.
Maybe that moves us on to your current work and what that's more about, and like what you're trying to what are you aiming to do or show through your art?
this quote made me think a lot. My art portrayed my unconscious for my paintings and change it, rechange it, to process with my paintings and monotypes and all the mediums I'm doing. The process of it made me feel something. It made me change my opinion on something or change my perspective, even in life. I think my aim at the moment is for the audience or for the participants to have a feeling, to feel something, to get something from it, to see things that I didn't see when I did it. I always enjoy the story that someone has in my paintings or in monotypes. The texture can create creatures that I do it, but at the same time, sometimes it's not on purpose. Sometimes it just creates things because I express myself. So if someone can relate to it, if someone can see his own perception, his own life through it, his own maybe memories in it as well, like it's just wonderful, because then my art can exist without me in it, because it can exist by itself and by others people's journeys.
Yeah, and as a feeling
yes,
other people can relate to.
Yes. So I think that's my aim, and that's what I'm trying to do. But I'm trying not to think about it too much, because when I think about what I do, it just doesn't work. I think I just make things and then I
It's a way to make.
Yeah.
It's proved quite successful for you.
Yeah, it did. Because I process with making. I don't process with words.
Yeah, that's where you and me differ quite a lot.
Yeah.
It's where we did the personality tests and you're a visionary.
Yeah.
And I think it very much encompasses everything about you, that you keep having new ideas and you're full of them, and you want to try this and you want to try that and you want to try this and what about this? And, what about this? And and then the amount of times you've come to me with some obscure idea that's like, okay, how can I do this? And then I can come back at you with all of my thinking and my over-analysing of everything and give you a way of making whatever you want to make.
Like practical skills.
Yeah, the logistics I can cover quite well if you come up with the ideas.
I think that's also a big part of it. The people that they have around me in the studios. Like, you always have the different artist perspective because you're not a painter. You see the painting as a very different thing. And it grounds me lots of times. Like, I actually have to think about what you're saying or what you're getting from it and rethink my process. And from painters' perspective, my friends in the studio, like Ri, Vita, Lula, they have amazing skills that I was fascinated by it. And they help me have my style, have the thing that I have now. I always have a third opinion. I need that third opinion because I go way into it and I destroy what I make, or I took it in another way. Because it's a whole fight for me. It's a whole journey. It's a whole survival skills for the painting. And so I want a third opinion about how would I make it pop up more, or how would I make it what color should I add? Like things like that. All the colorful theory. They've
got that technical
knowledge. Yeah, which I don't necessarily ever think about, but having them around made me research, made me learn about lots of things, and I'm truly grateful for that.
That's awesome. Have you learned any new skills with mediums or techniques that you can share that changed your life?
Yeah, actually, in oil painting, helped me in monotypes later, but in oil painting, I learned not to be scared, to have soft marks. That was a lot for me, because I was like, that's too soft, like that's not me. And to combine it with texture, like all gas paintings,
Yeah.
like the way she's expressing herself in it. How could I combine it with something soft so I can have that contract, I can have that focus that I want in it? How would a painting work like that? Oil painting changed the way I was seeing paint in general. Changing from acrylic to oil is a whole different subject, which I only started like a few months ago, and I really loved it. Like, I loved it all the way through. Not gonna lie, it's a love-hate relationship, but it's going, like, it's getting there.
Yeah.
And seeing lots of people using oil in different ways of how will you have layers, how will you have texture, how would they work together. Yeah, it really, really helped me. And it helped me in monotypes as well. Of the way I do monotypes is removing paint from it, is having a background, black usually, and I remove paint from it to create a picture or a photo, whatever I want. That removal of things is removed from the darkness to create something. Is there trying to find something from the abstraction. It's like finding your way through abstraction to find something. It's very therapeutic, but also it teaches me lots of things that I learned in oil painting, and I had to do in seconds in monotype, which oil painting is not about removal, which is it's really strange how my mind relates those things. But having a mark and embracing that mark, it made me see how could I make these marks by removing things.
Yeah, like you work in negative.
Yeah, and concept-wise, I feel like my marks are always stronger than my concept. I'm always thinking, I have like a painting in front of me and I'm like, oh, I like this mark and I like this mark and this mark, but I want to do something else because concept-wise I need to change these bits, or like, and I have to change it, but I don't, because I'm like, I want these marks there. It's just, my marks are always stronger than my concept, and that's why I think I get disappointed when I have a theme at the start and I try to work on the theme.
Yeah.
Is starting with an idea, which I became better of having an underpainting and starting with ideas and building it up, but having the ability to live with the painting and go with it, flow with it, let the painting shock you, let it
guide you.
Yeah, let it guide you instead of you guiding it.
Yeah.
Which I'm still working on. It's a long process. I'm really enjoying it through all the mediums, which I'm trying that, because through photography I'm abstracting the body as well. How you abstract the body in photographs. It's very interesting, and I'm starting to get really interested about the way and excited about the things that I'm making.
Yeah, because you're moving more towards like performance and live performance and abstracting the body in your videos. Maria recently had a piece of hers exhibited at the Antwerp Mansion, the West Art Collective exhibition, and it was a video where she'd filmed, I think, how many bodies did you have? Four? Four people were all nude and sort of climbing over each other and moving slowly between each other. And when she edited it, she edited multiple layers of these bodies all overlapping to really give you a sense of that the form was made out of body parts, but no singular body was clear. And it was a really mesmerizing sort of kaleidoscope effect and a different way of perceiving the body, which changed the normal sort of one head, two arms, two legs. Like, this is definitely not how Maria sees bodies. Maria sees bodies as having extra parts and moving in different ways and extending, and it potentially shows sort of the relationship to her own body, or the distortion that she's felt and perceived over time of how society has made her feel about her body. And it was a really mesmerizing piece. I'm just remembering it off the top of my head, and It showed how you pushed this idea of painting into your performances, which are now going towards more of a live direction because of that connection with the audience that you're seeking to find now.
Looking back to audience, I feel like the idea of the audience, I'm trying to embrace more. Going to do a live art performance, which I'm projecting a video with multiple bodies on me, and I will be drawing the audience. So I'm naked there, and there is the video of multiple people, like distorted bodies, that is going slow, like a lava kind of thing. But being nude there in the moment is changing the whole perspective of it, because you no longer have control over me. I have control over you, and I'm watching you. You're being watched while watching something. So which one is doing the performance? You or me? It's very interesting concept of changing the perspective of the audience. It's actually inspired by Marina Abramovic, and I collaborated, I modeled for Carolina, a photographer, which she had her photographs around me, and I was naked in the middle. How will you change the perspective of photographing a naked body? How do you say it differently when the naked body is alive and is watching you? Following that, I wanted to do a video, to project my video onto my body, to change the perspective of the audience. How would I make sure that the audience is actually aware of me, that I'm watching them, by drawing them? Is that I am watching you, you are the performer as well.
What's going to happen to the drawings?
Haven't thought about it yet.
I wonder if you could put them up on the wall as you go along or something.
Yeah.
I mean, just an idea.
That would be nice.
But it sounds very exciting. I think one thing that Maria tends to downplay is how much she does at the same time. The amount of simultaneous things, like the same exhibition where she had a piece exhibited that I just described, was the place where she was a live performer in another room, surrounded by a cage of her own photos by this artist Carolina, and it was that was a really powerful piece. Because like I live with Maria. I think I've seen Maria naked as much as I've seen her clothed, and it's really not a weird thing for me to see Maria naked. However, even when I walked into the room and I saw her standing nude surrounded by these photos, I didn't know where to look. Instantly I looked down. It's a really powerful experience, because that relationship of being watched while you're looking at lewd photos, or photos with a theme of like kink or fetish style, was so unsettling, because it turned the experience from voyeurism into being watched as you react to something that may make you have feelings that you're not necessarily sharing with the whole world, and that might be quite personal. It's like I couldn't even look you in the eyes. I think
Lots of people did then.
It was just like, my gosh.
It's just ignoring the elephant in the room. Like,
yeah, it's like, what the ceiling is so, like, I noticed that there was no ceiling in that room for the first time that I've been to that mansion 4 or 5 times now. I've never noticed that there wasn't a ceiling in the room. But purely because I didn't want to look at Maria, I noticed the fact that the ceiling was some gaping abyss, because the building is quite derelict.
Wow, that was the point. And Carolina's idea was change that perspective. Have that control over someone that is watching the photographs. That is
totally. And
it was truly amazing to experience that power.
Yeah, I guess so. Can you isolate your work to a single theme or sort of concept? Or would you say that there's multiple themes constantly at play in your practice?
I think it can form to one, but at the same time, I am working on different ideas and different concepts. It can form all the same, like I can have like a main theme, that is always has identity in it. It always has some sort of trauma or distortion, abstraction in it, what everything represents. Also about the female experience, I did a lot of work about that, about period, about pain. So female experience was a dominant subject of my work, which it still is, but at the same, I think it's more abstract now. It's not that vulgar.
In first year, like the predominant feature in your practice was the female body and parts of the female body.
Yeah.
Whereas now you're kind of more painting maybe more fantasy landscapes.
More creatures.
Yeah.
It's more like landscape creatures, the body becoming a landscape. The way it forms itself, the way it exists, maybe it's the feeling of the body, maybe it's a nightmare, maybe it's a feeling. Moving from the literal meaning of having a body or having an actual body there, it made me have meaningful and metaphorical meanings of the body and symbols in it. Like, you see a boob somewhere, you see a face somewhere, you see it forms like a landscape, but what do you see? Why do you see it? And yeah, I think it's the way my mind explains itself in a way is how sometimes my mind thinks and make pictures together and distorting them, and I think it's something like distorted reality. How do I pursue the world and how I see the world? And why most of my life I felt like I was in a distorted reality and very fairy tale gone bad kind of thing. And the way I do that in my art, I feel like I finally became something that I would want to see myself doing, because I was never completely happy with what I was making. I always liked the process of it, but I was not happy with the result. Very critical of myself, and at the same time trusting myself too much. Don't know how that connects, but yeah.
You were trusting your need to create.
Yes.
And weren't necessarily loving the results. But
yes.
You definitely continued to have that trust in your process and that trust in your need to experience what you needed to feel to be able to release them.
Yeah, it was, after a while, it was like a ritual to me. It was a cleansing. And it always made me feel better after, even though it could be like an emotional experience to make. But it made my mind calm itself when I felt like I made it.
It's that sense of achievement too.
Yeah. I was always wanting dopamine, and wanted to get that dopamine. And the way I was getting it is from creating things.
Yeah, relatable.
Yeah.
But you've mentioned that obviously Marina Abramovic was a huge inspiration and idol, maybe potentially in your life for your work, but were there any other artistic influences? Like, who are your biggest ones as well as her?
Anna Medieta is a big inspiration. The way she abstracts the body, placed like between abstractness and gratitude kind of thing. It's amazing. Like, Anna Medieta was, and I'm fascinated by her story as well. Lots of art about identity as well, like distorted faces, their relationship with the nature that I want to explore more as well. Francesca Hoodman was another big inspiration. They wanted to disappear from her art, or wanted to disappear from the world in general. It was fascinating to see her life and her art going. It was so clear to me that she was so deeply depressed, and she had identity issues. She wanted to find herself or like identify herself in some way, and she couldn't. And that trying to have some of recognition through her art and sort of meaning through her art became her life, and then she just ended her life. That was a really good story. Like, I was always looking for good stories. Usually the good stories that I found fascinating is the dark ones. It's the ones that don't finish well.
And filled with trauma.
Yes, filled with trauma. Another good artist that I knew it existed, but I discovered the relation and I wanted to have signs of it in my art was Hieronymus Bosch, which, yeah, what a personality. It's an artist that there's lots of theories about him. Some of them saying that he was delusional, schizophrenic, or deeply traumatic, and maybe all of them together. But the way that he was distorting the body and having images of heaven and hell, the perception of life, existential crisis, is what I'm feeling all the time. So I was like, I want to create something like that. These images that I thought it was just my brain, I want to make them reality, but not necessarily my reality. I just want to create a reality that is inspired by mine. And yeah, he helped me like seeing the body in lots of different ways, like having a face, big face, and people coming out of their eyes, and what's the dark intentions behind it, and like everything dark attracts me so much, and I wanted to find why does it attract me so much, and something was wrong with the picture, something was wrong in the painting, that I needed to know why. It drives me insane, and I want it. I want to have that in my art. I want to be able to see the art and being like, that's disgusting, why? Like, have that, not necessarily just disgusting, or having an emotion, having a reaction is what I want, what I hope to have. It's a big deal for me to have a reaction in my art. I think when I don't have a reaction, I feel like it's not quite there yet.
I mean, it's a good way of testing your work to see how people react to it.
And it's also the fact that I react to it as well. I see things in my paintings that are not necessarily intentional after I create them. And seeing me having this reaction as well as a third person is also big.
What kind of contemporary artists are you looking at in your work right now?
Surrealist, abstractive, figurative artists, like...
I've just realised that my questions are kind of very similar, so I thought maybe it'd be interesting. You've given your past.
I don't know how contemporary
influences.
is Louise Bourgeois.
I mean, she's still alive, isn't she? So she counts.
Louise Bourgeois. I don't know if I'm saying
Louise
that.
Bourgeois.
Yeah, that. I've been to Tate Britain and Tate Modern. That was a very good experience of seeing realistic art and non-realistic art and expressive art. Lots of the historical paintings made me form landscapes and ideas about how would I create the landscapes of having forms, or how would I abstract the forms that are already there, kind of thing. And I was really interested about the composition that they were making. They're not contemporary art. Yeah, I think I'm inspired by not contemporary art.
Yeah, if anything, you kind of mentioned that when you were going through these exhibitions that you saw a lot of abstract work and you felt that maybe the art world was moving away from the figurative style. Yeah. And that's maybe something you don't connect with as much, and you want to hold on to the figurative and take that through into your contemporary work.
Yeah, I think I like abstract, but to my art, the figure is important. So the figure needs to be there for me. So looking at lots of art that is moving away from the figure a lot, it made me think that maybe art is moving away from the figure in general, which it makes me really sad, because I feel like figure is also important, and it needs to exist in like some artists needs to do that. Figurative art is not lost. It's not a dead subject. It's not going to be ever, I think, because the way an artist pursues the body or the figure is also the fact that painting is so old. You have your whole history in your hand when you paint.
Yeah.
And so it's really difficult to have that power over it, or to have that difference. And I feel like with that's why I like monotypes, because they, even though they have history, I feel more free to have figures in it and not to have figures in it. It's more like less thinking, sketches, seconds. It's more like a process, thoughts, and it doesn't make you think about your whole existence when you do it.
Yeah,
like
you don't
painting.
Have time.
Yeah, you don't have time. You have seconds, so you're just going.
Yeah, it's like you work through your technique and your processes and your emotions in your paintings.
Yeah.
And then you can take the techniques and the pattern, like the concepts and the shapes that you like, and you can apply them to these 5-second prints, rather than spending your emotional energy into a painting for hours. I mean, how long does it take you to paint one of your paintings if you're using oil paint?
I don't actually know.
Because how many are you working on simultaneously? Like right now?
Right now it's one, because I didn't have time. We had to have things on the wall, so
True.
I couldn't use any other wall. But usually it's 3 or 4 at the same time, and I'm working on sketches on other ones, or at the same time monotypes and
planning performances.
Yeah, and planning performances, and have also scheduled photo shoots. So it's busy. It's busy.
I mean, I guess that takes me to my next question, which is, describe a creative day in your life.
It used to be so easy, you know. It used to be just go to the studio and paint.
Ah, yes, the performance medium. We've both transferred more into performance, and it's rather less easy to just sort of do. You have to put a lot more planning in, and then Maria's also got on top of that. Like, she's just mentioned the 16 things that she's doing simultaneously, and thinking that, she can just do them all at the same time, and somehow pulling it off.
Barely. I think lately I have a schedule, so I have like a planner. You got for me. But I have a planner, and I have every day about the things that I'm gonna do, and a list of things that people that I know me don't laugh. So I'm doing that, like, seriously. Like, I know it's been a hell of a journey to convince me to do list, or like having some sort of schedule, but I'm finally doing it. Be proud of me.
Very.
Yeah, I have an actual schedule, and I have things that I have to book in workshops like 2 weeks in advance, and I plan every day what I'm gonna do, and things go wrong. Always they go wrong, but you have, like, I learned to have a backup plan, so I have, less disappointment and more.
That's really smart, actually. I hadn't thought about having a plan like that, because then it's like if you can't do A, you'll do B.
Yeah, it's not like losing. I can't do that, so I'm just like wasting my day. Yeah, I don't like feeling like I'm wasting time.
Yeah.
Which could be really stressful, because it's hard to get breaks, it's hard to actually process what you're doing. But definitely changing mediums, it helps me in that. It helps me in having my brain in different mediums, because in doing monotypes, for example, it has some sort of break between. It has like the putting the paper to soak, like drying it, and then putting it on the plate, and doing the machine so it can print onto it, which is not only having the sketch ready, the plate that is gonna be printed on. you have all this process that it can be quite stressful when you're doing lots of things, because I learned that if I do one plate, I'm losing time. So I make 5 instead and then print them.
Problem solved. Problem solved.
Losing time? Oh no. Yeah. In the darkroom, I have, I think, the most time to myself. Is the unexpected. I did monotypes in the darkroom, but it's the same process with monotypes. But
it's like film photography. You're
Yes,
developing
yes.
photos, but you're painting the
yes,
film.
and then
Instead
after
of
that,
photographing
you have
it.
like just a blank photograph that you need to develop and put into 3 different chemicals to get developed and form itself as a photograph. Then you put in water and hang it up after 10 minutes in the water, and all that. It's just really nice. It's really nice to feel that process. And I did that. You can do that with, I did paintings only with the chemicals without actually exposing anything. And I did photographs without the photograph, like having things exposed to it, which I didn't like, but I tried it. I have my own photographs that I abstracted with the chemicals as well. You can work on lots of different things in the darkroom, and it's fascinating because you never know how it's gonna look. You never know how, and you have to let go of the idea of having something like you want it to be. And that letting go of the idea helped me in paintings as well, or letting go of the idea of having this specific thing represented.
So yeah, what's some of your favourite projects? I mean, you know mine. Mine is definitely when, at the beginning of lockdown, Maria asked me to help her film one of her performance pieces. And this entire performance consisted of her being absolutely naked and putting a paper bag on top of her head, dancing around to Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. And it was absolutely fabulous to watch, because you could tell that she was trying to portray how lockdown made her feel and the madness and lack of control that we were feeling because of this massive change. And it was both hilarious and beautifully done. And I think to this day that's probably still one of my favourite performance pieces that I've ever got to witness. But I also do have I've got a painting there, I've got one just outside this door, so I do like her paintings too.
Yeah, it's funny because you experience the music in it. So you have a more hilarious vibe to it. And the actual performance piece is without music. So I'm just dancing to nothingness. Which, it's how it felt in lockdown. You were dancing to nothingness.
Totally.
It was, nobody could actually see what we were doing. And I think that's how my art got trapped in a box of like, I'm the only one allowing me to see my art. And my art became way more personal because of it.
Yeah.
Because nobody could see it. Like, it was my need to do art and my need to explore my relationship with someone, or having an audience, having like someone that might watch it. So the relationship between audience and myself, but an invisible audience that I didn't have. So everything I was doing, it was about me and because of me. And it was traumatic. And
yeah, you were really experiencing that disconnect, weren't we?
Yeah.
Like, we didn't have the connection with, even we did a lot of collaborative work in first year, and then lockdown happened, and it was like, hey, we tried to do we did more, like one body painting thing in a house, but it was just so much more stressful, and we all just started doing our own individual things. And yeah, that was really represented through a lot of your work that you were making.
I connected with my friend Evita a lot when lockdown started. We were both doing art performances, so we start doing together with like distance, so we can portray the distance that we had to have. Being together in the same room, really. It was interesting. Some of the pieces that we did together, I'm really proud of. They're much more structured than the ones that I was doing by myself. I felt like I was losing myself. I was wanting to escape from everything that was happening. I was completely dissociating from who I am and what is art in general. I was really pushing the boundaries and wanted to see what I'm willing to do it.
Yeah. It's actually interesting there, like, you've kind of breached a little bit onto the next question, which is describe the role of the artist and how art is important to society, because I think we understood the role of the artist a little bit better when lockdown hit.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
What would you say is the role of the artist?
It's such a complicated question, you know. But I realized the therapeutic sense that art has and how everybody, or like lots of people, went back to art. They wanted to connect with something or with their emotion. I do feel like without the lockdown in general, art represents lots of different things. But lockdown changed the perspective of the art in general. It made art way more important from the people that they didn't think it was important as well. Because I always thought that art is important, but not all the people did. Lockdown really changed the perspective of nowhere to go to see a play, nowhere to go to see art. It was so lonely, so empty, and it made us connect as artists. Like Instagram became like a place that lots of people were like, look, I'm doing this thing, because they couldn't see anyone. And it would really inspire you to be like, okay, I'm gonna do things as well, because look, everybody else, they're doing things.
Look, yeah, I'm isolating for 12 days, so I've got to just sit in my house and do nothing, so I may as well make a thing and show the world. And it's like, oh, what are you doing in your house alone? What are you doing in your house alone? Like, imagine lockdown without any art, like TV, film, gallery, art shows.
Yeah, absolutely depressing.
Cartoons, books. There's so much that art brings to our world. It's absolutely invaluable, in my opinion.
And the meanings in it as well, not only the therapeutic part.
Totally.
The fact that we can communicate with the world without even speaking. It's with making things. And that is just amazing to me. I think that's why I delayed a lot to get into writing about my art, because I just feel like it's so boring. I don't need to speak.
Yeah, it's also heavy. I think a lot of the work that we've been making over lockdown has been impacted by such a massive change in our lives. Yeah. That having to acknowledge how much the pandemic affects us is kind of annoying. And it's kind of frustrating because we have to keep being reflective and introspective and understanding why we're making our choices and what is... And we just sat there going, oh, well, I'm in a pandemic, so I'm super anxious. I'm also stressed. I'm disconnected from everyone I love. I feel super lonely. And then they're just like, but you can't use COVID as an excuse to talk about your work. We're sat there going, it's so intrinsic to who we are, don't you think? Yeah. Our emotions will always influence who we are and what we make. And that's why probably reflecting on it and having to acknowledge what's actually going on is harder than just going, well, I'm making stuff because it makes me happy. It was also, for me, was losing time of making things, having to explain what I make. And I'm like, here you go, this is what I make. Like, explain that to me if you want it. Like, it's very much like, I think Andy Warhol said something like, I just make and then I let them decide what it means when I make more. Yeah. That's exactly my thoughts. How do you seek out opportunities? Seriously, Googling everything. Like, I Google everything. Whatever I do in relates to anything that I might think it relates to, I just Google opportunities. And it's also surprisingly that Instagram helped me so much finding in opportunities as well. What do you search in Instagram? I don't search. They just advertise it to me. Algorithms. So I feel like because I search about opportunities that much, Instagram just brings me more. And I also have like friends in the course that send me things and I send them things, and we have like, I think, a community that we share opportunities. And I also applied to lots of opportunities that uni recommended. Like, I really try to apply to anything I can. It makes me feel like I'm doing something. Like, I feel important when I do it. It's a dopamine relief. Even though I might not get accepted, and I didn't get accepted to lots of different things, but the times that you get accepted is worth it. Yeah, it's so worth it.
like I do recommend to just apply to everything. Like,
So when you apply to things, do you have sort of a base statement that you put on everything and kind of alter so that it's more tailored to it? Do you keep it all in one place so that you can just instantly send things and go, here you go, here you go? Is it tailored to every individual experience? Like I really know so little about this that I'm learning at the same time, so...
I used to know. I used to just try to write something about specific opportunities because I didn't have anything written about my art in general. But now that I have things written about my art that I wrote about and I'm proud of what I wrote, I rewrite it and I re-edit it over and over again. I have like parts of statements that I have for like themes that I apply to different themes of, because I'm not really precious about the meaning that my art has. So I don't know if it sounds bad, but I change it so it can form to a theme. It can change to a theme so it can be exhibited.
I think
It's just small things. It might be the same, but I will talk about it differently if it's gonna be exhibited. It might be that instead of a statement, I had a poem near that I might choose not to have. Like, it's just small things, small changes. But now, yes, I have lots of statements that are for specific reasons, but I usually change a lot before I apply to something.
Yeah, like you adapt them to
Yeah,
each
I
application.
adapt them a lot. But at the start it was difficult. I learned to ask for help. I learned to have people went over things and spend more time on writing as well. I used to think it's such a waste of time. But actually spending time to explain what I mean or what I feel, it is important. Unfortunately, it is important.
Oh, what a chore.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's really interesting because I feel like it's something I struggle to do. So I've recently applied to my first ever exhibition, and I'm also going to be exhibited. So it's definitely inspiring to have Maria in the house going, I've applied to another exhibition, I've applied to another one, I need to do another one, I've done one more. And she'll come running in and tell me all the exhibitions that she's going to be in, and she's really she's absolutely killing it. So you've been exhibited at least 10 times now, including online and physical exhibitions.
Yeah, including online. Yeah.
That's a lot. And what I'm in one now. Actually, I've got two because I've got the magazine. But that's still
I've been in a magazine as well.
Yeah, there you go. That's 11. You're doing really incredible things, and I think you've got that drive and that passion to keep driving you forwards and keep making and
it's
just
exciting.
Doing. Yeah. It's the adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
Am I gonna get it? I've tried now. Yeah, it's exactly the sort. You've got the attitude of don't ask, don't get.
Yeah, it's like my mind is like, if you apply to 50, at least some of it will you get accepted. If you apply to one, the chances of getting accepted is little. So it's like the more, the better.
Yeah.
Sometimes I used to have that as well. I used to get really sad when I didn't get accepted to something. And sometimes it's not about your art. Sometimes you don't fit to that theme, or they want from you something else. They want from the artist something else that is not necessarily you. It's not necessarily has to do with your art. It's just not for you, the opportunity. And that's okay. And it's hard, but it's okay. You find things that it match with your personality and your art and you as an artist. And you learn through the years. I learned to create my own opportunities as well. Ask places to do things. Collaborate with places or photographers. Create your own opportunities if you don't find any.
Totally. Well, I mean, this is bringing us to the end of this podcast, and I've been having a great time. Thank you so much for coming.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I think we're gonna round off this episode with your oracle card quotes, because I've started this trend, and I think I really like the idea of where it's going. So if I could get a quote for life, a quote for work, and a quote for inspiration from you, I think that's how we'll round off this episode.
My quote for life is... It's actually a Latin quote that I changed it a little bit. The Latin quote is cogito ergo sum, which means in English, I think, therefore I am, or I exist. I change it to I create, therefore I am or I exist. It's both I think and I create so similar to me, which is for a live code, I think it sums it up. My word code is, if your mind lets your imagination escape, create that reality. The inspiration is, don't let your drama trap you. Change your unconscious, recreate it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you all for listening. That's been awesome.